first question is, we were in Strasbourg recently for this historic vote, which has seen Kosovo take another step towards its membership of the Council of Europe. But you, as a member of the Albanian delegation at the Council of Europe, you tabled a resolution to do with Ukraine, which passed unanimously, which was fantastic. And, you know, there's one thing I like about the Council of Europe. It seems to have, I need to choose my words carefully, it seems to go further than European Parliament does. They seem to make decisions and pass resolutions and take stances which have more guts than what European Parliament and the European Commission does. So this is what I like about the Council of Europe. But I wanted to ask you a bit about your role with this Ukraine resolution, and also, do you prefer international politics in sort of the Council of Europe realm, where it's sort of a bit different, or do you prefer politics at home?
Well, there are two different dishes, completely different dishes. I know international politics also from my previous experience as a foreign minister. And of course, I know Albanian politics because I've been in it for quite a long time now. There are meeting points, and I think both acts that took place 2 weeks ago in Strasbourg are meeting points. First and foremost, Kosovo. The green light by the Parliamentary Assembly is the biggest good news for Kosovo in some time, quite some time. And it leads the way for the Committee of Ministers to finalize this decision and let Kosovo take its rightful place as a full member of the Council of Europe, which is great news. It's great news for everybody. In particular, it's great news for Kosovo Serbs, who have been used for a long time as a scapegoat by Belgrade, and now can enjoy the protection of the European Convention of Human Rights and the European Court of Human Rights, instead of being bullied around by Belgrade to fulfill its revisionist agenda in the Balkans. And this, of course, plays into our national interests as the Republic of Albania, to have the situation in Kosovo normalized, to defeat every attempt by Belgrade to introduce political scenarios that go counter to the region's aspirations for full integration into the European Union and into North Atlantic structures, into NATO, and to let people build a better future for themselves, instead of being dictated by agendas of governments, in this case Belgrade, but not only, also Republika Srpska, that do not share their aspirations, do not share our values, and do not share the long-term vision and plans of the Euro-Atlantic community for the remaining 6 in the Balkans. So in that sense, it's a meeting point between the international agenda and what I believe strongly should be Albania's agenda. When it comes to Ukraine, it started with my rapporteurship on this issue, confiscation of Russian state assets. There are more than 300 billion frozen Russian state assets after Russia initiated its unprovoked war of aggression in Ukraine, which has caused considerable destruction, of course, horrible war crimes for which Vladimir Putin has also been indicted by the International Criminal Court. Ukraine finds itself in a very difficult position. I'm very grateful that the United States has once again led the way last week with its package of aid.
Finally, yes.
But I'm even happier to see that after our resolution was approved, as you said, unanimously by the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, calling for the confiscation of Russian state assets that have been frozen and the creation of instruments to put them at the disposal of Ukraine, the first country which actually moves forward with this is a non-member of the Council of Europe, the United States, because part of that aid package is also the resolution, the legal package of the U.S. Congress, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, to authorize the President of the United States to seize, to confiscate these Russian assets and put them at the disposal of Ukraine. So this is a first act that followed. I mean, the vote in the House of Representatives happened on Saturday, and the following Tuesday the Senate approved it. This was 10 days of good news for
Yes.
Ukraine and for Ukraine's friends.
Do you think it might give the EU a push, because they've been bickering for quite a long time about what to do with assets? And I think in the latest sort of draft, it was they will potentially only use the money generated from the assets. So, for example, interest on funds in bank accounts, etc., rather than the actual assets themselves. Do you think it might push the EU a bit?
I certainly hope so. And seizing the interest, of course, is a good step. In my view, it's not a sufficient step. I believe that the time has come to have full strategic clarity. And one can always learn from the splendid examples of that history presents us. You know, speaking with some of the more, of the better informed leaders of both political and military of NATO in the past few weeks, I was inspired by what a former Supreme Allied Commander of Europe shared with a circle of friends, and that was the strategic clarity that determined the course of events during the Second World War. You know, for a long time, the UK, Churchill was hoping that the US would be drawn into the war effort, but it wasn't until Pearl Harbor happened that this actually occurred. And Churchill traveled to Washington, met President Roosevelt, and they came out with a very clear message: Germany first. I mean, the Pacific Fleet of the US was still smoldering, but there was clear strategic thinking: Germany first. That was the first strategic priority. And 1 year later, the two leaders met again in Casablanca, and another strategic message came out of that meeting: unconditional surrender for both Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. This is the kind of strategic clarity that is needed today.
Let's hope it doesn't
Unconditional
take...
defeat of Russia in Ukraine is not simply a strategic goal to support Ukraine. It is a strategic imperative to not to see Russia advance further, or as the speaker of the Ukrainian parliament so eloquently put it during his compelling speech, compelling
it was
address
great.
at the Council of Europe, that other nations are not forced to stare Russian soldiers in the eyes.
I hope it doesn't take an incident like Pearl Harbor for people to wake up to this need for a bit more strategic clarity.